Hello and welcome back to Morning Express. Many thanks to Chijoke for taking us through the first part of the program. Our next interview on the program is one that centers on telling Nigerian stories beyond the headlines. Joining us in the studio this morning is a media consultant and founder, QliqMedia Naira Dairy, Mr. Henshaw Jacobson. Mr. Henshaw, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, we're in a media age where a lot of stories making the rounds are usually either tagged as sensational or clickbait, particularly on the online space. But for traditional media houses, either print media or television stations, a number of due diligence is done in terms of capturing the real essence and the reason why the stories are being told. When it comes to telling the Nigerian story, Chimamanda DJ has warned of the dangers of a single story. How do we tell stories beyond headlines?
Okay, first of all, Nigeria is more than politics, more than corruption. Nigeria is more than the whole negative stories that we have. But then again, we look at the online media platform right now, and it's even going to get worse. I'm saying this because the whole monetization thing, people are not creating content now to give information. They are creating content now more for monetization. So that's why people go as far as telling stories that are not real or tweaking the headline just to get the clicks. So for us to begin to tell stories, Nigerian stories, I think we need to do something about it, where we get to let the media people, the creators, the influencers know that in as much as you want to make money and you want to monetize, we need to project Nigeria for what Nigeria is. We have amazing people, we are innovators, we have beautiful cultures, we have amazing things going on. So we cannot just focus on clicks because we want to monetize. So that's where the problem is. The whole monetization thing is just making people, in fact, personally like this right now, there's some platform of Meta, let's say Facebook for instance, I avoid viewing people's stories because so many
Why do you avoid viewing their stories?
Because the things there are not things that I want to see.
They don't align with your values, or are they deficient in morals? What exactly is the reason?
Both, everything. People just post stuff just for views, just for monetization. So that's one of the major problems. So I think we need to begin to educate people. We need to begin to get people know that, okay, yes, in as much you want to make money, you are projecting us for who we are not. Because Nigeria, there are so many beautiful things happening. Like over the weekend, they have one of the biggest cultural events, Bole Festival in Port Harcourt happened with over 40,000 people in attendance. We are not getting that. But if we have a negative story from that event, that will make the headline. So I think the government need to come in, and then we need to work together to see how we can begin to let people know that it's not much that money is important, impact, and then telling our stories is very, very important.
Now, capturing these stories, the most recent event which you highlighted in Port Harcourt is one that celebrates our rich cuisines,
Exactly.
which forms quite a background when it comes to the Nigerian stories that matter. Because we as a people, we're known for our diverse dishes.
Exactly.
If you transverse from the south to the north, I bet you there are over 1,000 different native dishes. And
of course.
Port Harcourt now is becoming famous for bole,
Exactly.
which is particularly roasted plantain and fish.
Yam,
It's a riverine.
fish.
Talk us through what the government can do to tap into such a festival and get those required to tell the stories to capture the essence of the story.
Okay, so one other problem that we also notice is that media relation, the gap between the media people, especially the online media, and the government and the people running these platforms, there's a big gap. So we can start by bringing them in. Let's have a conversation. Let's say, okay, how can we partner? Because there are some ministries. So recently I got to work on a project, a federal government project, where they are training young people on digital skill. I never knew anything like that existed. They are spending billions of naira. So how about we now say, okay, we have this project, we have this going on. Okay, let's invite the media people in. How can we partner? Of course, money will be involved, but not necessarily money. You can say, okay, we give you content, we give you access to content, work with us, partner with us, amplify our story. Not just wait, because one thing, the media will not come to your house and knock on your door and come and tell your story. They will not come. Either your story is something that will give them clicks, or it's something that will give them all being paid. But if you can have that collaboration, that relationship where we always amplify our stories, I think that will go a long way, because amazing things happening in Port Harcourt. and then it's not trending on X, it's not making headlines. So we have a lot to do. There's a long way that we need to go.
On the part of the organizers, I know a lot of people put in a lot of work in terms of strategies to ensure that their events trend on X and makes part of the buzz. But when it falls short of expectations, do you think that it takes off the intent or the zeal to go back and do a season 2.0 or go at it again?
I believe everybody knows that there's always room for improvement. So you might have achieved succeed in terms of getting partners, getting the numbers, and then you can now look at, okay, next year we want to make a line. Apart from just doing all of this, we want people to know about what is happening in Port Harcourt and in Nigeria. Because when you look at Nigeria right now, we need to talk about Lagos, talk about Abuja, and talk about Port Harcourt. So if something big is happening in Port Harcourt, of course, it's amplifying Nigerian stories. We want to look at where we begin to see people coming even outside the country, because like the government is really benefiting. The economic value of Bole Festival is massive. Like during that period of time, the old stadium road hotels, you cannot, like, if people have to book like months, like 2 months ahead to be able to get the space to stay. So this is something that engaging the youth. This is something that is bringing economic value to the state. So you can just, okay, we've achieved this, but let's look at these areas. Where and where do we do it well? Where and where can we improve? And in terms of media and make it headline, we can begin to partner with influencers, creators on X to drive the conversation. Because right now, if you want to know what is happening in Nigeria, you just go to X and click on see what are people talking about, what are the hashtag trending, what is happening there. And shockingly, most of these things are influenced to trend. You get most of these things are influenced to trend. So there are people whose job is just to be there to make sure that they amplify, they influence these stories to trend. So we begin to collaborate and work, and then government, knowing that this is bringing value to the state, we can work together. And then there's, because it's not about militancy, there's more to us than militancy, there's more to us than the whole politics happening between this party and this party. Let's tell something that, you know, that, okay, we are proud of our culture, our people, because apart from food, you see different fashion. People are coming to express themselves fashion-wise. People are coming to make fashion statement. So a whole lot is happening, and we need to amplify this. This way we begin to attract investors, we begin to get more value, and even engage the young people, apart from just talk about the old things, negative things that's always happening in the news.
Now, there seems to be a disconnect in terms of the building blocks for storytellers.
Okay.
If you look at the curriculum in schools these days, subjects such as history have been taken out of the curriculum. And a large part of history is about the Nigerian stories, some of the heroes and heroines, the Queen Aminas of this world. It almost seems as though a number of the new storytellers we have, particularly on the online space, did not have the luxury of benefiting from such subjects
I agree
in
with you.
school.
I agree with you.
How do we rewrite this growing trend?
Okay, so they recently updated the Nigerian
School curriculum.
So I saw it, but I've not. I was going to look into it detail, but I think, just like I said, partnership. So if you are bringing a new curriculum, and then you know that this is one of the problems that you need to solve, I think you need to bring that in, and then maybe the way they did it before maybe was boring, or kind of, we need to know, okay, for the young people these days, how can we teach this thing in a way that is funny, in a way that is interesting?
Let me chip in there. They've rebranded it towards civic education. Do you think that civic education in itself does justice to the structure we had as history growing up?
Yeah, if they've rebranded it, it depends on the implementation, the people that are going to execute all of that. So if they have that plan in place, I think let's just start and see what happens next.
But now, I know there's also agencies of government saddled with being able to orient Nigerians, much like the National Orientation Agency. They've done some innovations lately. They've begun to tell Nigerian stories using animation, using cartoons. As much as they are saddled as the agency of government with this onerous task, how best can you see collaboration across board to ensure that Nigerians buy in? Because it's not only setting up a policy or an agency to drive that policy. There needs to be buy-in from citizens.
So I think policies like this should be people-oriented. So you don't just wake up and bring up policies because you think it will make sense. You need to listen to the people. You need to listen to the creators. You listen to filmmakers. How are we producing our movies these days? What are the stories we are telling through our movies? You get our music. Big shout out to our big artists who are doing amazingly well. Those are the people amplifying our stories, our music, because Nigeria is a music hub now in the world globally. So if you begin to partner with people, know that not just to come out to do a policy, how can content creators, people are creating content, amplify good stories? Sometimes I go to a comedy show, let's say in Port Harcourt, for example, the content is just negative. People say, okay, in this play this happened, and then you listen to it's so somebody that is coming to that show for the first time will just conclude that this city is about this and that. So, but when people begin to like you said, education, orientation, they begin to adjust their story, knowing that okay, whatever you're saying, whatever you're telling is making people to conclude, and then that's how they will just make the conclusion and say this city is like this country like this. So for this to be achieved, first of all, the policy should be people oriented. You need to know, okay, how can we do this? You need to bring people and partner with them, from movies to creators to writers, everybody involved, all the creators.
Now, you've touched on an important subject of this discussion, which is forms of storytelling. You've talked about the industry, particularly when it comes to one industry over time that has put Nigeria out there. You travel across Africa and the international scenes, people know Nollywood.
Okay.
They're one of the biggest storytellers as it concerns the Nigerian stories. But there have been some stigma associated with the stories that they've told, particularly when it comes to the regulations that have been enforced in banning the use of voodoo, juju, ritual killings in some movies that have been depicted over the years, the bad narrative of the wicked stepmother, and so on and so forth. How would you look at the role of Nollywood in that regard when it comes to Nigerian stories on the global stage?
So apart from global stage, locally, I would say I blame it to a large extent what is happening in Nigeria right now. So you have more young people who believe that for you to make it, you need to go into rituals. So for them to even think that they see in the movies, they see that okay, you can go into this, you can go into that. So that's why personally I appreciate and I celebrate people who are coming up with movies that are telling real stories and without putting all of those negative things inside. So we celebrate them and we appreciate them. So them they've done a whole lot, but then again I think with new people who are working right now, we can begin to see people who are telling stories, and then know that okay, Nigeria is not just about the old juju thing, and then let young people know that oh, you can do this and you can do that without necessarily go into all of those things. So of course their impact, we cannot write them off, but then again we need to appreciate the people who are making efforts while also encouraging them to do more.
Now, when it comes to the international media as well, in terms of news reportage, I know as much as the creatives have been blamed for their part in all of this, do you think that the international media has an unfair representation of Nigeria, particularly with the stories that get captured? A number of them seem to be about insecurity in this part of the country or the other, as against the exploits we managed to gain. Recently, the female athletes in Nigeria, be it the basketball team or the senior female football team, have done great. But when you look at the international media's coverage of stories in Nigeria, those stories are not as highly placed as the sad incidences of Boko Haram, trail derailment, or what is the role of the international media in this regard, in your opinion?
Okay, so I think yes, they're playing a big role, but I also blame us because this story don't get to them without us. So for example, now you want to know what is happening in Nigeria right now, or this, you could just go to X and then click, you see the hashtag, see the keyword that are trending. So Nigeria now, something is happening, maybe somebody is in danger. Instead of people to help up, the first thing they want to do is to pick up their device, take the video or pictures, and the next thing they will just post it. They will not think, okay, if I post this thing, what's the next thing that will happen? What's the impact? Another person will repost, and then we get it. So this national, international media, they don't come to us. We are the ones that are giving them the content. So it's how you project yourself, how you tell your stories, that's how they will carry it. So it's for us as a people to begin to look into the impact of the content or the story that we are telling. Because just like I mentioned for the festival, for example, now, if we bring them in and then we put out the story and for the festival is trending for good things, international media might pick it up. But if, let's say, something happened, maybe somebody's phone or something happened at the event and we amplify it, they will pick it. So it's for us to start with us. The change that we want to see need to start with us. Know that, okay, now everybody just want to pick up their phone or their whatever they have and then put out stories. People need to know that whatever you're putting out there, you are telling stories about Nigeria. For example, now people were seeing Yahoo and all of those things. Now it's because we are amplifying all of those stories. In as much as we are against all of that, but we should push people who are doing amazing things. I funded my Meta advert account yesterday, and it was Petro Pestack. Before now, we were using a foreign companies in partnership with Meta, Facebook to do all of that. But this is a brand, a company built by Nigerians. Technology, we are doing amazingly well. Big brand like Flutterwave, Pestack, they are doing amazing well. I'm telling you, for the past few years, we're using South African companies and other foreign companies for our transaction. And you know how much billions of naira is going every day from Meta as people are running advert. But we now have Nigeria that build products, that build solution. So these are the stories that we need to amplify more intentionally, and by working together with the government, the creators, and even the brands managing their media relation.
This brings us to an important subject you've touched on. With storytelling comes the moving train of the internet space. A lot of platforms now are the go-to in terms of entertainment. A number of persons have jettisoned that idea of buying novels, except for young children where you have to buy storybooks. Even the storybooks we have now are also digital storybooks. Now, this has shifted the focus of readers and those who are interested in stories to online platforms. You've mentioned a few, the likes of TikTok in particular. I know for some time now there have been debates on the need for regulation of that space. You started the conversation about talking about the fact that you don't even watch some stories on Facebook anymore because of the vulgarity involved.
Exactly.
When it comes to regulating the social media space, it's a very touchy subject. Once you mention it, a number of Nigerian youths flare up. They don't sit to listen at why it should be regulated. How do we discuss social media regulation with your concerns on vulgarity and the kind of contents being shared on some of these platforms?
So I think the government, they have every right. They have all the resources, what it takes to manage this thing. Recently, there's a popular Nigerian that DSS wrote to X to delete the account. I'm sure you've seen the story.
Yes, please.
So that means they have the power. They can handle a whole lot. So
I mean, for history serves us right, even a president's tweet was taken down in Nigeria, God rest his soul, by then Twitter before it was changed to X. So the government has those reaching rights, and some of these platforms as well have the rights as well to regulate their space.
So before even go into regulation, there are so many opportunities that the government can leverage on. For example, when they introduced the VAT, where if you are running ad on Meta platform, you pay 7.5%. That's a lot of money alone.
In terms of revenue.
In terms of revenue. So until then, I was thinking, what were they thinking? Like, this was running for years, and then so much money was just on the table, and then they were taking it. So there are so many opportunities. So Meta and all these other platforms, they have their community standard, they have their policies, they have all of these things, but these things are not designed for, they don't pay attention to Nigerian culture when they are making this thing. So I think the government can start by saying, okay, you have policies for your platform. How can we look at Nigerian as a country? Because there are some things that might be okay in a particular place and it's not okay in Nigeria. So how can we develop policies that, okay, when you post a particular thing, that means you violated policy. Even the fact check, it's not, they're just using what they have in other countries, and it doesn't work here most of the time. So most of the time when they disable somebody's account, they do this, most times they are just using what they have maybe in US, and Nigeria is different.
So we need Nigerian laws, laws that relate to operation of this within the country.
So we need to start there. They need to review their policy in line with our culture.
In fairness to the National Assembly, I know there have been bills mandating some of the social media giants to have physical offices here in Nigeria to make for better interfacing. What do you make of such policies?
That's part of it. I support that, but like I said, you need to start with the policies. Part of the thing they are doing, the platform, we are disadvantaged to a large extent. There are some features that are not available to us. For example, when they started the monetization, it wasn't available to Nigerian. But when they started the Meta verification, immediately they made it available to Nigeria because they needed us to pay. And many Nigerians, they jump in and they pay, and they are making money. Because what those platforms they care about is just their revenue, it's just their making, it's just their money, it's just the numbers that they want. So we need to, okay, these policies is fine, but let's look at something that is in line with our values, in line with our culture. That way, if you post a particular thing, you know that in Nigeria this is not okay, the policy can just quickly, okay, you've done this. Either they send you a violation notice, or something. That way we could begin to manage. That a lot can solve our problem to a large extent before even talking about the regulating the whole platform. So I think the government need to start there. There are so many things, because if you want to say let's the reason why most young people react that way is because digital platform has empowered more Nigerian than any other platform. Has made more millionaires than any other platform. People like Bella, you can't imagine where you would have been without TikTok. So it's easy for anybody to jump on those platforms and make money. So when you now say you want to regulate this platform, it's like you saying, okay, you want to take food away from them. So I understand the reaction, but then again, the government can begin to look into even the platform policies. And then again, oftentimes I get to speak with their customer rep because of our company. We manage a lot of campaign for people, and we manage account for big people. So then again, when they have issues, they reach out, we need to fix this issue, and then you put on a call to speak with one of their rep, and it's somebody from India whose English is bad, and then the communication is bad. I was discussing with a friend, how about we have them even employ Nigerian, African, and understand Nigerian culture? Because sometimes when you're explaining something to them, they cannot relate. Some of the problem that me personally I can quickly solve for them, but because these people, Pakistan, Indian, so those are the things that government I think we need to look into, not just bringing office here, because those people that are working for them, they are not in a particular location, they are working, they are remote workers, they are remote staff all around the country. So you cannot have Nigeria, you are making so much money from Nigeria, we have millions of people using the platform, millions of people paying for advert, and then you are not making a policy that respect our culture, that is in line with our values, and then even when you are addressing issues, you don't pay attention to who we are. So that's where the government needs to go into. Just like I mentioned, the whole VAT 5 point. So everybody that's run advert on Meta platform, the federal government get 7.5%. So imagine those times they were not doing that, the money that they lost. So the opportunity, I cannot begin to say some of them here because they might be sensitive, but there are so many things the government can tap into before even talk about regulating the platform.
Now, I appreciate you for sharing the opportunities that abound in terms of how to harness telling Nigerian stories. Let's talk about some of the other challenges, some of the biggest challenges for storytellers and for media entrepreneurs in terms of balanced story, particularly from the angles of the consumer. People say bad news always flies the fastest. Looking at that as the basis for this question, how do media entrepreneurs and storytellers stay balanced in telling stories that inspire?
Okay, so I think every media platform is a brand. So just like we have ADBN TV, there's something that we have your values, you have your mission statement, there are things that you want to achieve. So the problem is people just jump into this platform because they just want to trend. So they don't have any direction, they don't have any vision. So I think if, for example, for Naira Dairy, for example, it's about amplifying Nigerian stories and it's about telling Nigerian stories. So we, because of that, even the people that we are working with, we don't post negative stories. We post more of positive stories, good things that are happening. There might be things happening here. We want to put on the positive because there are so many good things happening. So I think the media house need to, okay, why are they in the business of media? Why are they creating content? Like I said, one of the things influencing people, making people to do what they are doing is because of the monetization. Because people just want to make money, and which is very, very bad. And that's why I've also come to the policy. So if they put a policy for right now, Meta does not have a policy that monitors what you post on stories and then send a violation. I can confidently say there's nothing like that at the moment. That's why anybody can post any kind of thing and there's no policy to handle that.
And that's why we see things like cyberbullying, cyber stalking.
Exactly. So there's no policies like that. So that's,
but in Nigeria, we seem to have a cyberbullying.
Of course, yes, we have that.
But we need to have it in collaboration with this platform. If I get you correctly.
Exactly. We have that. I've read it over and over again, but they are not implementing it. So the only time we hear about is when maybe one
prominent person
maybe defamation or something that is against their personality or their brand. That's the only thing they react. But the government, they've not seen that, okay, Nigeria as a country is a brand. And then state government, they're not saying that, okay, Riverside, for example, is a brand. That the government, they only protect their interests. Anything that will affect them not winning the election, that's the only thing they will go to the agents of police. But protecting the image of the country, and then the young people are using this platform knowing that when they consume this content, when they are exposed to this content, this will affect their brain and their thinking and everything. So I think that will go a long way, knowing that, okay, you are not just protecting yourself as a politician or as a leader, the country, the people, the young people, we need to protect them in as much as we are using this platform. I think that's where we also need to start.
Now, in terms of some of these stories, because one thing people tell you, they say there's nothing new under the sun. I don't know how true that idea is, but with stories, people tell you people reinvent stories, reinventing the wheel. Having looked at some of the brilliant stories that have been told from the Nigerian perspective, do you think that there are some stories that we're yet to tap into? Are there stories on your mind that you want Nigerians to tell more of?
There's so many amazing stories, so many. So even the popular one when they say the Monka Park story that discovered our River Niger and
River
all of
Niger
that.
was discovered by Mungo
Yeah,
Park.
Monka Park. There are so many things happening in our local communities. So many things happening in our local community. So look at the award in Nigeria when they are celebrating people. They're focusing more on the popular people. So most of the award they are being celebrated. Meanwhile, there are people doing things in communities. There are people solving problems, either security problem, power problem, water, so many things. So we begin to go inside and begin to tell our story. So many things happening that we are not even paying attention to. What we pay attention to mostly what is happening in the cities. So there are so many things, amazing things happening. People, Nigeria is a very good country. If you travel, you meet amazing people, you eat amazing food. Whenever I travel to a new place, I want to know, okay, what food do people eat here? Don't bring me rice and all of those things. So there are so many things happening, so many. So we begin to go inside and begin to tell stories and ask questions and learn what is happening. I think that will go a long way. But in terms of say we are telling stories, we are not even doing enough because we are just focusing on what is happening. What is trending on X is what we see as story in Nigeria.
All right. I must thank you, Henshaw Jacobson, for your time on the program this morning. It's been interesting. I'm very sure a number of persons are having a rethink on forms of storytelling, ways to tap into this monetization, and on the part of government and the private sector as well, a need for collaboration to strengthen the storytelling space to allow for inspiring stories to paint a global image of Nigeria. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, sir.